evening and welcome to our channel. Tonight I'm going to talk to you about some of the questions that people ask when they're starting this low carb diet. So I'm going to be switching between Banting and Keto because our lifestyle is sort of a combination of both. First question I'm going to answer is, what is the difference between living low carb and keto? So before I answer that question, I just want to say that we don't follow the living low carb principle only, because when people say they're living low carb, it just means that they're cutting out carbs and not increasing their fat intake, which we do. But that is the difference between living low carb and keto. When you're on a keto or a Banting diet, you increase your fat intake, decrease your carb intake, and your protein intake should stay quite constant because you still need to process that as normal. So that brings me to the next question. Is ketosis bad? To answer this question, a person must first understand what ketosis is. Ketosis is the state where your body uses fat as an energy source. Basically, your body is in fat burning mode. So normally your body would use carbohydrates as a fuel source. When you are a diabetic or insulin resistant, then your body struggles to use carbohydrates as a fuel source and instead stores it as fat. The next question many people ask is how many carbs you can eat. So the keto or Banting diet are 75 to 80% fat, 15% protein, and 5% carbohydrates. That 5% carbohydrates should be roughly 21 grams of carbs. Many people only count the net carbs when they're calculating the 21 grams of carbs because that is described as the sugar, and then the rest of the carbs are seen as dietary fiber, which is nutritious and good for your digestive system. So many people ask the question, can I have alcohol when I'm on a keto diet? This is also open for interpretation. A lot of people believe that you should lay off of the alcohol in the beginning of the process. We didn't. However, the people that did sometimes mention having faster results. Even though there is often carbs in alcohol, you are allowed to have alcohol when you're living on the Banting or the keto diet. This just means that when you're counting your 21 grams of carbs, you need to take into account that you have had some alcohol. You can check on your app how many carbs was in whatever you were drinking. But in general, the simpler the better. Spirits are probably the best choice, paired with a sugar-free mixer. And then what we also like to drink is wine. The drier the wine, the less the carbs. So here are a few alcohols plus their carb count. Spirits such as gin, rum, vodka, and whiskey have 0 carbs per serving. Red wine has about 4 carbs per serving, white wine the same, and then most light beers have about 6 grams of carb depending on which beer you're drinking. So which fruits can you eat on the keto diet? So this also differs from the Banting diet, whereas in the beginning of stages of the Banting diet we used to cut out fruit completely. But with the keto diet, you are allowed most berries, such as strawberries, blueberries, raspberries, blackberries, you name it. You can also Google their carb intake. It's around 2 to 3 carbs per half a cup. Then obviously you can eat avocado and coconut. My suggestion personally is to cut out fruit in the beginning of the diet, especially just to speed up the process of getting into ketosis without having an insulin spike from eating fruits. So what is keto flu, and should you be concerned with keto flu? So keto flu is when your body is making the transition from using carbohydrates as an energy source to using fat or ketones as an energy source. Very often people feel run down, their skins can develop acne, they sometimes feel like they have the flu, they feel sick and sluggish. But as your body naturally adjusts to this new way of living, you will stop experiencing these symptoms. For some people, it's a really quick transition, especially people who weren't big carb eaters in the beginning. But for others, it can take up to 3 weeks to a month to adjust to ketosis. So another thing people worry about is, will the diet give me kidney stones? So in the beginning, when people weren't really sure what they were doing, they were introducing a lot more protein into their diet than necessary, because the protein is not meant to replace the carbs, the fat is. So when a person starts eating more red meats, you are are more prone to having kidney stones. So it's very important, if you want to avoid this, that you also remember that the protein intake needs to be moderate and to drink a lot of water. Another thing that reduces the chances of getting kidney stones is also a potassium supplement. So how will the diet affect your cholesterol levels? So in the first place, when you're on the Banting or the keto diet, you will lose weight, and that already has a good effect on your cholesterol levels. But also at the same time, you're taking in a lot more saturated fats like butter, cream, bacon, and coconut oil. So there have been many studies about this, and what they've seen in these studies is that the bad cholesterol reduces, but the good cholesterol in your body, the HDL cholesterol, increases when you're on the keto diet. So how much protein can you eat in the keto diet? So as we've already mentioned, kidney stones is a real thing, and many people that have been doing this wrong and have not been drinking enough water have developed kidney stones. But people need to understand that this is not a high protein diet. It's a normal, mild protein diet. The way you used to measure your proteins needs to be the size of your hand or all of those things. It still counts because your body still needs to process the proteins the way that it normally does. We don't want it to use protein as an energy source necessarily. We want it to use fat as an energy source. And if you're eating too much protein, it can break the protein down as a sugar and use that as an energy source instead, which would mean that it is going to be storing the fat that you're taking in as fat and not using it as energy. So in most studies, they've said that a person should take 1.2 to 1.5 grams of proteins per kilogram of your body weight. I use my goal weight when I did this sum, so I can eat roughly 70 grams of protein per day. That's not in weight, remember that's in nutritional value, so you don't have to have a tiny little bit of steak like this. Also good not to just eat red meats, but fish is a very good source of protein, and omega-3 fatty acids. You can eat some chicken. Eggs are also a good source of protein. So that's all for today. I'm going to leave a link in the description with a few other questions that people have asked and a little bit of research if you're interested. But if you've enjoyed this video and you're enjoying the food videos, please like and subscribe to our channel. You can also follow us on Facebook and Instagram where we give recipe ideas, and please send us a message in the comments if you have any questions, if you have any suggestions. We would love to hear from you. So live your low carb life, and we will see you next week.